All right. Welcome to another Mixed Mental Arts Books Chat. We're going to be covering the second part of The Great Hunt. We left off at pretty much the exact halfway point in the book. And we have here Mr. Andrew Meingesm's Meinzer. Say hello.
Yep. Hola, everyone. Hi.
All right. So, when we last left off, the group, the boys group, Rand had arrived in Carrion. So Selene has departed their party. Rand, Huron, and Loyal arrive ahead of the group in Carrion. Upon their arrival, we do get a little bit of a description of the city. I know Loyal mentions the um, the endless towers of Carrion. At this point, they're crumbling and they're in disrepair. A lot of it actually has to do with the previous Aiel War. Um, and one thing is that Carrion didn't exactly recover very well from that war. The farmers will not uh, live outside of the city because they're afraid of the Aiel, even though the Aiel haven't crossed the Dragon Wall since the Aiel War, which was about 20 years ago when Rand was born.
Oh, okay.
So all of the Aiel or all of the Carrion people live either on the outskirts of town. Um, I think they what do they call that? They call it like the border or something. Um,
Borderlands.
it's like there's two oh they call it the foregate, I believe.
Oh, yeah, that sounds familiar.
So the foregate area is like where all the commoners live. And the foregate is basically like the area outside of the main city. Inside the main city is where all the nobles live, and that's it's basically divided by a wall. So you got your class stratification. That's one of the a big kind of theme in Carrion, where you have the lower classes and the upper classes and their social dynamics. Um, so they do arrive in Carrion, so we kind of get a first look at what the city is like. Um, and they go to an inn. It's called the Defender of the Dragon Wall. And Rand doesn't like the interior of the walls where the nobles live. And he really just wants to go back to the foregate because it actually looked fun. There are a lot of people like dancing, lots of music and entertainment in that area. And he wants to go with Loyal and Huron. Loyal declines because he's worried that he'll be seen by Ogier that might be there to repair the towers. And Huron, he doesn't want to go there because it smells bad to him. He
Oh,
just
yeah.
smells like murder and violence there. So he just wants to stay in the inn where it's nice and safe. So also this is an important part of the book where um, Rand on his way out visits the common room and he starts getting letters from all these Carrion nobles.
Mm-hmm.
And Huron, I guess, kind of knows a little bit about the Great Game and tells Rand, like, oh, those are invitations. Like, you shouldn't treat those invitations lightly. This could be seen as your decisions about how you approach these will determine like your status in the great game and all that other crap.
Mm-hmm.
Rand, he doesn't give a shit about the great game
Yeah, he doesn't want
at
to play
all.
the game of houses.
And How would you describe what is the Great Game or what is Deus Damar?
Well, it's just like the game of houses, basically. Like just like political maneuvering to yeah, I mean that's the most concise way I can think of explaining it, really. Like playing politics to manipulate people to enhance your social position.
Yeah, so it's trying to enhance your position while also trying to lower the status of your enemies. So
Yeah,
it's basically like a social status competition amongst the nobles of the city.
yeah,
Carian is supposed to be noted for one of the most fervent practicers of the great game. And on that note, since Moraine is from Carrion, she's actually very good at the great game.
yeah. Better than it seems like she is, especially in the first book, because they don't really get into this whole concept that much in the first book, right?
They don't tell you what's going on, but it's there. One of the ways you can see the great game played is when Tom and Moraine first meet. Upon first reading, in that first meeting, you wouldn't know anything. But upon reading that section again with Tom and Moraine first meet, it's obvious that they know who each other are.
Yeah.
And give me a second because I got a work call thing.
All right.
Second.
All right. Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting aspect in the whole series. It's kind of like what happens in Game of Thrones, which everyone knows about, and people manipulating each other to gain more power and to have power of the throne of the Seven Kingdoms. And so that's a really interesting aspect of the series, especially as it goes on and you see like I think we were talking on the last episode about the different seven colors of the White Tower and how all of the different seven colors of the Aja are kind of like manipulating each other and that sort of thing.
Yes, the different colors. Some of them are allied. Some of them are definitely against each other.
Hmm.
Like the most heated relationship would be between the blues and the reds.
Yeah,
They absolutely hate each other,
yeah.
and that really does play out later on in the books.
It's the Reds that don't like men, right?
Reds do not like men. Greens love
Yeah.
men. But the greens and the reds, I guess the greens are closer to the blues, but they also aren't at odds with the reds either,
Okay.
because the greens are the battle Aja. They're the ones who are supposed to fight in the last battle.
Right.
That's like their main importance.
Yeah.
But where did we leave off? Oh yeah,
Um,
Days Damar.
and Rand's letters.
Yeah, so Rand's like, fuck this shit. He throws all of his letters in the
Yeah.
fire, and
He
Aaron's
just
like, what are you doing,
Yeah,
man?
he just
You're,
burned
you
all of them. I'm like, "I'm not playing this game." He's like, "I'm not playing this game, man. Fuck that."
but he can't escape the game either because that very action that he does is read into as some type of political maneuver.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So people are like kind of confused, and they like the people who are observing him in the end are confused and trying to figure out what the political maneuver is that he's trying to enact.
Yeah.
So he's like, the hell with this crap. He burns the letters and then he ventures off to the Four Gate. So he's just strolling along. in the foregate, and he hears a familiar voice telling a story, and it's one of your favorite characters that he actually meets up with again.
Yeah, Tom, right?
Yeah, so he finds Tom working in the foregate. I believe he's telling the Hunt of the Horn when they meet. I might be wrong, but I think that's the story that he's telling.
That would be fitting.
So Rand is like, "Holy shit, Tom is alive!" They meet up again. He's extremely happy to see Tom, and he tries to ask Tom, like, "How'd you get out of there alive?" And Tom basically just tells Rand that Murjol didn't care about me at all. He was just going after you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, you see, he kind of like brushes it off too. He's like, "Yeah, I wasn't really interested in me. I came away with an injury, but no big deal."
Yeah, and he's still. I think he does that to feel that he doesn't want Rand to worry about him because Tom tagged along with them as a protector. So he doesn't want them to feel that they need to protect him. He wants to be useful and be in a space where he can protect him. And he does do some more protection in the next book. It's a different type of protection. It's not physical, but he uses the game of houses to protect Rand in the later books. But yeah, they meet back up again. It's a happy meeting, and they explain how they left Whitebridge and all that other good stuff. So so what happens is Tom tells Rand the name of the name of the inn he's going to be staying at. Name of the inn is called Bunch of Grapes.
Bunch of
I'm
grapes.
not. Yeah, Bunch of Grapes. That's the name of the inn.
Okay.
So the next chapter is it's going to be Tom. So Rand actually goes back to the inn to talk to Loyal and Huron. Has Loyal met Tom? I'm trying to think. Loyal has not met Tom.
He didn't meet him in the first book? Oh yeah, because he was already separated from them.
Yeah, because they didn't meet Loyal till Camelin.
Yeah.
So Rand tells Loyal, "Hey, Tom is alive, and you got to meet this guy. You got to meet Tom." So he actually convinces Loyal to leave the inn, which he is kind of reluctant to do because he thinks that he's going to be caught by some other Ogier.
Yeah.
So when actually, so they go find Tom's inn, and when they knock on the door, there's actually a woman in there named Dina, and she's doing some juggling practice. And they have a little discussion, and they find out, oh, she's kind of like a gleeman in training. Rand finds this a little odd because he's never heard of a female gleeman.
Yeah.
So he's like, she wants to be the first female gleeman. So eventually Tom does come back and he sees that Tom gives her like an affectionate kiss and he's like, oh, I guess they must be dating or something. So that it gets established that they have a romantic relationship.
Hmm. Tom does well for himself for an older guy.
Yeah, and Dina, I think she's actually supposed to be like in her 20s. One thing is, Tom is always bagging hot younger chicks. And there's like some
Yep.
weird stuff later that happens with Elaine that's kind of strange. It's not Tom's fault, but yeah, Tom seems to bag the young ones.
Yeah.
So he's like, I don't know what it is about Tom, but he's definitely a ladies' man.
Yeah, I don't know. He's got that charisma, and good with women, and I don't know, tell is good at telling stories, and he's kind of he's got that jovial but also at sometimes cynical nature. Yeah, I don't know. I
Mhm.
don't. I couldn't say what women are attracted to because I'm not a woman, but yeah.
So also, like one of the main reasons he's visiting Tom at his inn is that he was carrying his harp around this whole time. So he's able to reunite Tom with his prize harp. That is
Yeah,
I think it's probably his favorite and most important instrument.
yeah. And
So
that's like a hell of a thing for him to have preserved it and brought it all that way too.
yeah, and you remember too. I think he also preserved the cloak as well. Trying to think if he brought the gleaming cloak with him or not. I can't quite remember.
I think he did, didn't he?
Yeah, I believe he gave him his cloak back and the harp. But Rand tells Tom something amazing because Tom is the funny thing is like, oh yeah, the hunt of the horn is is going on and blah blah blah. And Rand's like, how about you come with us? We actually already have the Horn of Villiers. Tom is extremely skeptical. He thinks that uh like that Rand was pretty much swindled into thinking that he had it.
Yeah,
He was given like some fake horn.
yeah.
But
He says something like, "Yeah, you know, there are like a bunch of people in town who say they have the horn, right?"
so Rand assures Tom, he's like, no, this is the genuine article here. And wouldn't it be great that you could tell our story and travel with us to deliver this to the Borderlands? Um, Tom, I believe he reluctantly says no. He doesn't want to travel with them. I guess a lot of it has to do with the new love that he's found. So he's like, no, I've had of Aes Sedai because the main reason he doesn't go as well because he believes that Rand is out of the grip of the Aes Sedai. He
Yeah,
also thinks Rand is not a Chandler
yeah,
because if Rand was a Chandler, there would be no way that he would be set free without an Aes Sedai escort. And he is there. There's no Moraine, there's no Aes Sedai accompanying him. So he comes to conclusion that okay, Rand's fine. He's not going to get gentled. I don't have to protect him from Aes Sedai anymore.
mm-hmm. Yeah,
So he doesn't feel the need to go along with him because he doesn't think he has to protect him against the Aes Sedai. Because much of the bond between Tom and Rand has to do with a tragedy that happened to Tom in the past with his nephew Owen, who was um, who actually was gentled.
oh, okay. Yeah,
All
yeah.
right, so
Tom's like Tom's basically has the attitude of, yeah, I just want to like chill with my girl and be a Gleeman and tell and teach her how to be a Gleeman. And then also, I was just thinking about based on what you were saying that I think it was in the Wheel of Time spoilers episodes they were talking about how Moraine. We talked last time about how Moraine is one of the characters who isn't in this book that much, but I think they talk in those Wheel of Time spoilers episodes how she's sort of playing the game of houses and manipulating things behind the scenes to make sure that Rand is safe and has people with him protecting him and stuff like that.
mhm. Yeah, so he believes that Rand is in the clear. He sees that Rand is wearing like Zord's clothing, so Rand is basically made a name for himself and he's doing really well. So he
Yeah.
doesn't see the need to re-inject him into Rand's life. It is a difficult decision though for Tom because by the end of the chapter he is very reluctant about saying no, but it seems like the innkeeper actually um, settles Tom down by accusing Tom of getting involved in the great game. And
Mm-hmm.
Tom's like, "Oh no, he's just a shepherd from the
Yeah,
two rivers," because he looks like a lord. So everybody who's talking to a lord must be involved in the great game.
yeah. What is it? Is it I forget who it is, but is it Tom or I think it might actually be a different character at some point who's telling him that, like people are just assuming that you're a lord and you're dressed like one. So instead of just continuously telling everyone you're just a shepherd from the two rivers and having no one believe you, you could just like act and pretend that you're a lord and people are going to assume that you are a lord.
Yeah, I think it's Varen, and it tells him later on in the book, um, and we'll get to that part too. But yeah, Varen's the one that kind of tells him this because later on in this, he has to go see some other lord, and he's kind of nervous because he doesn't think he is a lord and doesn't know how to engage in that interaction.
Would a lord in so-called Randland have to be a lord by birth normally or something like that?
Lord, yeah, is by birthright, I believe. I don't, but then again, Perrin was made a lord, so I don't know exactly what the rules are.
I mean, I guess Matt is something similar to that eventually too, right?
I think so eventually. Well, he becomes rich, so
Yeah.
he can just use his winnings to wear some pretty expensive clothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, all right. Let's see. Give me a second. Let me pull up the next chapter.
Some interesting stuff happens in Carrion.
Yeah, so right after they leave, something really crazy happens. So they leave the inn, and the inn is in the foregate, which is the outer part of the city. And they want to go return to their inn, which is in the inner part of the city. Um, while while they're walking, there's like a troop of what looks like, because there's been parades up and down the street. A lot of them have been mock Trollocs and stuff like that. And a real one actually jumps out at them.
Mm-hmm.
And the Trolloc is accompanied by dark friends, and they start. The Trolloc, I think, grabs Rand, and then Loyals like tries to fight with the Trolloc. Rand tries to channel, but it's just not working for him. So this is where Loyal first kills. This is like Loyal's first kill. He
Mm-hmm.
kills the Trolloc by breaking its neck. And
Yeah, he breaks his neck by pulling him off of Rand and then throwing him against a building or something like that.
yeah, he just
Yeah.
like I don't know. Loyal must be super strong because I'm guessing a Trolloc isn't that much smaller than Loyal, but the Trollocs aren't as strong as Loyal.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So Loyal just, and it doesn't seem that hard for Loyal to do. He just throws the Trolloc into the wall and it breaks its neck.
Yeah, it's almost like it almost seems like he did it accidentally. Like, well, yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like he didn't mean to kill the Trolloc.
Yeah. So they're trying to evade these Trollocs in the streets because it looks like they're flooding the area and they're looking for them. Um, And while they're fleeing, they see an Illuminator chapter house.
A what,
Um,
sorry?
an Illuminator chapter house.
Oh, yeah.
So at that point, they say, okay, let's go hide in there. I'm not sure why there specifically, but they do choose there because they think Trollocs wouldn't dare enter it for some reason.
Yeah, why do they think that again?
Because the Illuminators defend their secrets to the death.
Okay.
So they enter the courtyard, and they actually come upon Celine.
Yeah.
Rand tries to convince her to leave because they're being pursued by Trollocs.
And then she
Um,
kind of just plays the damsel in distress for the whole rest of the time, except she keeps trying to get them to attack them and not hide.
yes. All right. So they're entering the Illuminators. Um, and what is an Illuminator? Can you explain what an Illuminator is?
That's one thing that I don't actually really remember much about.
Oh.
Yeah.
So the Illuminators, they make fireworks.
Oh, okay.
Fireworks are very expensive.
Right.
So they keep the secret of how to make them um, vigorously. Like if you go into there without their permission, they will kill you.
Yeah.
they they will kill you. They do not want their secrets getting out on how
Yeah.
to make fireworks.
It's almost kind of like magic in this universe in a way, hey?
Yeah, yeah. Well, people don't know how the fireworks work,
Yeah.
but it's definitely like a scientific process that Matt kind of figures out later on.
Oh, yeah, I forgot that.
So they sneak in to the guild, the Illuminator Guild house. Celine actually, when they get in, Loyal tells the group that Illuminators kill all intruders, so they gotta tread lightly. And then I think they overhear a conversation between two Illuminators, one named Aludra and the other Tammuz, and they just have a discussion about preparations for the firework display for the evening. While they're traversing through this area, Loyal accidentally sets off one of the firework tubes. Then Loyal finds some Trollocs that have snuck in. So there's actually an argument that happens between Celine and Rand. Um, Rand or Celine tries to convince Rand that he needs to achieve greatness. Rand doesn't give a shit about that at all.
Yeah.
And they're being stalked now by Trollocs. There's
Oh,
illuminators inside the building because they're in the courtyard, and now they're between a rock and a hard place.
yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Oh,
So the way,
you know how sorry, I was just thinking of this. You know who Celine kind of reminds me of in this part and in the when she acts this way in other parts of the book? Like
hmm,
a girl you might see on like an 80s movie who's like a high school kid who's always trying to like goad her boyfriend into getting into fights and stuff like that. That's
yeah,
what it reminds me of.
yeah, I can see that. Like the '80s popular girl with the jock,
Yeah. Like
the expectations
go beat
that
him
go
up.
around. Yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah.
So there's Rand is trapped. He creates an opening by using a firework, and he points it at the Trollocs. The Trollocs basically get obliterated, and this alarms the Illuminators inside. Selene actually disappears at this point.
Yeah.
They don't see any sign of her, and they just take off. So time passes, and they return to the inn. And then once he's at the inn, he receives a letter from Selene from the innkeeper, and it's usual Selene stuff. Think of me always. That's what she usually says in her little letters. So next thing that happens, we actually go to back to the other boys. So Matt, Perrin, and Ingtar, and it's just a little interlude chapter, and this is where they they actually come across an Aielman, and the Aielman notifies them that the Aiel are on this side of the wall because of they're searching for he who comes with the dawn. So there's just a little confrontation between Ingtar, the small band of Aiel, and they just have a little bit of banter back and forth about, like I know the Aiel thinks that Varen is a wise one, and
Yeah. Why
um,
why do they think that again?
because she could channel.
Oh, right. Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense because she's a nice.
Yeah, it's like their equivalent. So,
Right. So
and then
wait,
she's still
is he who comes before the dawn their name for the dragon reborn?
like I know they have their own prophecy. The Dragon Reborn, that title isn't part of their prophecy.
Oh, okay.
So I know he who comes to the dawn, like the main tenets of the prophecy is he is of the old blood, raised by no, he is of our blood, raised by the old blood. So he is an Aiel. He was raised by Manetheren, which is the old blood. Um, and I know there's like some other little prophecies, but they're trying to find Rand. They don't know it is Rand that they're searching for, but they know that they need to find he who comes with the dawn. And I believe they were beset on this task by the wise ones because
Oh,
because the
okay.
wise we get the inkling in the next book that the wise ones do have some type of foretelling ability.
Mm-hmm.
So they part ways with the Aiel. I guess the IL just wanted to question them about he who comes with the dawn, and of course, Ingtar and the Shinearans are like, "What the fuck are IL doing here on this side of the Dragon Wall?" So
Yeah.
they resolve that, and there's actually the next chapter is an interesting one because it goes into a different point of view. So the point of view of the next chapter, we do get a little bit of Jacob Bornhold, um, and in his point of view, it's basically taking place on the Almoth Plain. You get to see how the people are being treated, and they're basically, torturing and hanging people from these small villages. And
Is
Jake and Karen, go
is
ahead.
Bornhold is if I don't remember, is he a is he one of the captains of the White Cloaks?
Yeah, he is one of the captains. He takes the force to Almoth Plain. So in this
Right.
point of view, he actually gets to Almost Plain. Bornhold sees kind of these atrocities, and he doesn't really agree with them, and he doesn't know why he was beset with the tasks that he's been taking. Because what he has been saying is that they're trying to play these two nations off of each other, and he's like, this is dirty. We're supposed to be here, killing dark friends. So Barnhold, I believe, at this point decides to go to Tomon Head by himself against the orders of Jacob Carradine.
Right.
After this, we get a point of view switch to Bail Domon. So, do you know who Bail Domon is? You don't know Bail Domon? Come on.
I don't know, man. I think I'm getting him confused with like two other different characters, so I'm really not sure.
Okay, Bail Domon, he says, I do be Bail Domon.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, yeah, of course. Like this, there are too many fucking characters to keep track of, man. If you give me those little hints, that I instantly know who it is. But
I do be
yeah,
Bail Domon.
yeah,
His aged grandmother. It's another.
yeah,
He likes to compare people to his aged grandmother.
yeah. No, it's
Do
just
you know who Bail Domon is now?
yes.
Who is Bail Domon?
He's that guy who he talks in that weird voice, and he kind of helps them a few times, and isn't he
It's like a tertiary character that pops up here and there.
yeah, from time to time.
So in this case, Bail Domon, he is a ship captain. He is sailing the seas towards Tomon Head.
Yeah. Oh,
And the
yeah.
reason,
Yeah.
yeah, he's sailing this way because he was supposed to sail to Maine, and the note that he had was, "Oh, upon arrival, kill this guy and take his cargo." He was a dark friend, but he went and read the note, and he's like, "Hell with this! I'm going the opposite direction."
Oh, right. The culture that Bail Domon is a part of is kind of like pirate culture, right?
Well, Bail Domon is from Ilion, so people from Ilion sound like that. But Bail Domon is definitely a piratey type of guy.
Yeah. There are at least a few of the innumerable different cultures in this universe that we get introduced to in this book.
Yeah, and this point of view, so Domon sailing, he gets attacked by a Shanshan ship, and he actually halts and gets boarded by them. He meets Egianin, who is the captain of the other ship, and they commandeer his vessel and tell them that they have to go to Falma, which is kind of like where the Shanshan are most concentrated. So he
Right.
gets commandeered. I think at the end of this chapter, he meets High Lord Turok, and they kind of Turok is very much interested in old artifacts that were created before the Age of Legends or from the Age of Legends, and Egianin presents him to Turok, and Turok is kind of has a little bit of fondness for him because they can both talk about these old artifacts. As we know in previous meetings with Domon, he kind of has a lot of knowledge about old artifacts and things of that nature. He is modest in their meeting with Turok, but we do know that he is knowledgeable about these old artifacts. So I think he hands over the Quendiar disc to Turok. The Quendiar disc. Do you know what that is?
No, I don't remember that either.
So the Quendiar disc is a symbol, has a symbol on it, a white and black Aes Sedai symbol. It is made out of this indestructible material. And what it actually is, it is a seal on the Dark One's prison. So they hand that to Turok.
Right.
Of course, he's very reluctant to have to give up this prize artifact, but either that or his life. So he has no choice. All right. So next chapter going in.
So what?
Judah.
So does it explain? It doesn't explain yet, does it? How they have one of the seals of the Dark One's prison?
Bel Domon had that. He actually purchased that from a vendor who really didn't really know how valuable it was.
Oh, okay. Do I remember
So
correctly that Turok pops up at least a couple other times in the book too?
yeah, he's gonna be up in the book until the end.
Okay.
All right, so next chapter, it's actually called Days Damar. So in this chapter, they go back to this, where this is about Rand, Huron, and Loyal. Rand returns to the inn, and they get a knock at the door, and they get more invitations. This time, he wants to burn them like the rest, but these invitations are from the two most powerful nobles in Carrion. One of them is from Lord Barthanas, and the other is from the king. So obviously, he can't really burn these things. If if he burns these, then every noble house will want him dead. So he has to decide at this time. Rand doesn't burn them. So next thing that happens, they go out. Rand goes out in the guardhouse. He wants to go find out and see if Ingtar has showed up yet. And I believe he took Loyal with him again. I might not be sure, but they go out, and on their way back, they notice that there's a fire at the inn, and they go running to the inn. Huron is still on there, so they go on a rescue mission to get Huron back out. They find him unconscious. So they need Loyal because he's strong. He can carry the horn, but the horn's not there. The chest is gone. So Loyal helps remove Huron from the smoke, and they go back outside the inn, and they try to wake up Huron. Also, at this time, Ingtar, Matt, and Perrin actually find them, and they finally meet up again. So they're all one big group, one happy family.
Yep.
Except the Horn of Valyr is gone once again.
Yep.
All right, so they plan on what they're going to do next. They wake up here and they tell him, okay, we got to find out where they took the horn. So they send him out to use his super smelling, and he goes out and goes and looks for them. Also, at this point, Varen is there, and Varen was not there before Rand had split off. So he's a little surprised to see her there.
Yeah. How does it? Do we know how she gets there at this point?
Well, if you remember, when Egwene and Nynaeve were on their way back to the tower, Moraine, Leandrin, and Varen mysteriously disappear, and nobody knows why.
Oh, right. Right.
So I'm guessing at this point, we know Moraine went to go check up on the prophecies with Adelius and Van Dien. Leandrin, she's probably off doing dark friend shit. And then Varen, we gotta assume that she's gonna go look for the boys because that's, I guess, what she does. So, and you gotta, yeah. So they go to another inn. They have a discussion. Um, Rand, our hearing comes back and tells them that, oh, we've tracked the Trollocs and Dark Friends to a manor.
Hmm. Like one of the reasons that some of the characters that I get confused about some of the characters is that some of them have similar names. Like, especially if you're listening to the audiobook, like Varen and Heron, or or like Gawain and Galad, or they're
Gawain and Galad, yeah.
yeah, Gawain and Galad, and there are other examples. But I have those ones straight in my mind now, but I definitely got confused about those the first time around when I read the books.
Yeah, I don't know. I just was able to keep them straight most of the time, but then again, I'm like ridiculously into this shit.
Yeah.
They find out that they were taken to Lord Barthanus's manor, and they're like, "Oh shit, Lord Barthanus must be a Dark Friends if he's having if the Trollocs were tracked to his address."
Hmm.
So Rand notifies Varen and says, "Hey, I got an invitation to Lord Barthanus' manor." And they're like, "Yeah, let's do it. Let's go to the manor." So they agree. I think they go to his manor pretty soon after that,
Yeah.
and they all go, but they leave most of the Shinaran troops outside because they don't want to storm this manor with a bunch of troops. So for the manor, it's just Rand, Matt, Varen is going, and Ingtar. I believe Perrin. I don't think Perrin goes with them because there's no way to really state why Perrin would go. Because I know Matt, they make him play a servant, and he's not very happy about that.
Right.
Uh, and Loyal, Loyal, I think, goes too, and he goes. Ingtar goes, Varen goes, but it's not everybody. So Huron goes as well, and he goes as a servant. So Huron and Matt go as servants, and they're supposed to do some undercover work to find out where where the dagger is. Matt because he can sense the dagger. Huron because he has those sniffing abilities.
Right.
So they split up. They start mingling at the party. Um, Rand finds Tom there,
Yeah.
and they have a little discussion. And this discussion does have a very devastating impact in a chapter or two later. But they're like, "Oh, hey, what's up?" So Tom is an entertainer there, and then while I think he gets accosted by a couple nobles that just want to talk to him, and he's just like, "The hell with this." And I think there's like three girls that just pester him that really want to talk to him because of how he had been playing the great game.
Yeah.
I uses Tom as an excuse to get away,
He should have
and
just
then
stayed, man.
yeah, and then Huron helps him out, and he gives he gives Rand a story. He's like, "Oh, Matt's hurt himself," and this allows Rand
These
to get
are
out of the situation.
these are what like these sorts of parts are like one of the few problems I have with this series. Like these guys are like unrealistically almost opposed to sex and women and stuff like that. It seems like it seems like too like romanticized fantasy for me in a way.
Well,
But maybe
Matt isn't at all. Matt is not.
that's true. That's true.
Like he's the opposite.
Yeah, he's like the Han Solo character, like you've pointed out many times before.
Yeah, Rand is conservative-ish, but then again, not really, because he does bang three different chicks
Yeah,
while he's going out with all three of them. So
yeah, eventually.
it's a little
It just,
different. Matt
it
Matt
just
does Matt has much lower standards than Rand.
yeah. It's like that guy Daniel Green says, if you're looking for like gratuitous violence and sex, then you should go to Game of Thrones or Song of Ice and Fire.
Hmm.
Although there is like you said, there is sexual stuff that happens, but not explicitly. But there is definitely explicit violence many times in the series.
Oh yeah, there's definitely some,
Yeah,
but not. I think most of the explicitness comes from a lot of it comes from Brandon Sanderson's writing because he gets very explicit in combat.
yeah.
But
His battle sequences in the last books that he wrote in the series are awesome.
so Rand is told by Heron that they found a Waygate. Well, they don't know it's a Waygate, but they go and they smell where the Trollocs have been. It's a Waygate. They jump the wall to open the Waygate, and the Black Wind is right on the other side, so they hastily close the Waygate. At this point in time, they figure that the Horn of Valir must have been taken through the waves, and must be very far away now. At this point, Rand puts two and two together. If you remember from the note that Podon Fane left when he escaped, he did write that they would meet again at Tomon Head.
Right. Yeah.
So that's where he figures the horn was taken.
Right. Yeah, there's the whole thing, that whole smaller plot aspect of the book that Rand is trying to get there as fast as possible in hopes that he'll wait for him for long enough, right?
Well, he's not definite that that's where they went, but as they are leaving this party, they are approached by Barthanes.
Right.
And Barthanes tells them that he was left a message by Podon Fane. And in that message itself, Fane says, I will wait on Tomon Head for you. So they pretty much wrote it in stone that that's what was going to happen. That's where Rand needed to go.
Right.
So they got all the information they need. They left the party. They go back to the inn, and Perrin is waiting on them. Ingtar thinks the Tomon Head message is a trick, but Rand definitely confirms it because one, that's what was written in the message on the wall when Fane escaped. Plus, he says it again here, so he's like, no, it's definitely going to be Tomon Head. That's where they need to go. Everyone agrees that that's where they need to go.
Right.
But Varian says, okay, how are we going to get there? That's like months and months away. She says that there is a setting close by, setting Sofu, and it has a way gate, and maybe they can try that because they got to try some quicker way to get there. So yep, they decide that okay, let's try to go to this setting. But in the next chapter, we get a POV chapter from Tom. And this is pretty devastating. Do you remember what
Yeah.
happens here?
It's where he comes home and finds his apprentice slash girlfriend dead, right? And then
Yeah.
one of the, I think he gets attacked too, and then he gets some information out of the guy before he kills him.
Yeah. So the guy is like, oh, this isn't personal. You can make a lot of money. Tom is fucking mad. This is
Yeah.
his girlfriend. He's like, He's like trying to find out who paid him.
Yeah.
The guy says it was Balthana, and he believes it for a little bit.
Right.
It's like Balthana. He thought it was a guy working for Balthanas, and then after he admits to that, he kills the dude.
Right.
During this time, the innkeeper comes in and sees the dead dudes. He says, "Yeah, these guys don't work for Balthanas. These guys work for the king."
Right.
So he's like, "Fuck! Well, like the king of Carrion killed my girlfriend." So like Tom is like he has to get the hell out of Carrion because he just killed some of the king's men. And then Tom tells the innkeeper that he has someone to kill before he leaves. And later that night, the king is assassinated.
Yep.
Um, and Lord Barthanas was also killed. Not by Tom, but he is described as being torn to pieces by someone or something.
Yeah.
So
Like what we
I think
saw happened earlier.
yeah, kind of. I think it might be Slayer. I don't know. I don't know exactly, but the king was definitely killed by Tom. Tom went and killed the king because he needed to get that revenge.
Yeah.
All right, so next up, we do actually get a Pot on Fane point of view. Those tend to be pretty creepy.
Yeah.
But in this point of view, he's in Shanshan and he approaches the High Lord Turak. The thing is, Fane does not know how to open the box, and the box is in and daggers inside the box, and he really wants that dagger.
Yeah.
He presents the box because it has the Horn of Valir and the dagger. So my guess is he wants to present this box, and if it can be opened, he wants the dagger, but the Horn of Valir should be more than enough payment for that. Funny thing is when he presents the box to Turek, he knows how to open it, and he basically keeps both the horn and the dagger.
Right.
And this kind of upsets Fane, but we we see that now Turok is in possession of both the dagger and the horn, so we know there's going to be a confrontation later
Mm-hmm.
on.
Yeah.
All right, next chapter's point of view of the boys. It's a Rand chapter. They're at the Steading Sofu. So we get to see a little bit of how the Ogier live, like
Mm-hmm.
how their customs are. They do meet some Aiel there, the Maidens of the Spear. That almost culminates into a fight until Varian. I forgot who it was, but um, there's supposed to be some type of pact that they have to follow within the steading. That there's no bloodshed in the steading.
Right. Right.
And I think it's just another Ogier that says tells them like, "What are you guys doing? What about the pact?" So while they're there, I think I'm not sure. Is it here where there's like this Ogier that has an interest in Loyal?
Yeah, I think it
I
is,
think
right? Yeah.
so. I
Yeah.
think it is.
Yeah, she
And
thinks
then her name is Aerith or something like
yeah, and
that.
she thinks that's why he's there to like patrol for
To look for wives.
yeah,
But
yeah. That's
he's
why
really there to help, to genuinely help Rand. It has
yeah.
nothing to do with him
Well,
looking for.
and that's like a regular traditional thing for the Ogier, right?
Yeah, for the men to go off to other settings to look for potential wives.
Yeah. So that's why she thinks that's what he's doing.
Yeah. And he's definitely trying to avoid contact and conversation with the other Ogier, but It's unavoidable. It's just not. He's not going to be able to avoid it.
Yeah.
So they asked for permission from the elders to use the um, the Waygate. Um, they have they are not happy with them wanting to use it. They bring out one of their Ogier that was actually touched by the Black Wind. Um, it was a Ogier that had traveled through the ways, but now he was just an empty vessel. And
Right.
he was actually one of the another talented Ogier who could tree sing, and those are very, very rare.
Yeah.
So they try to say, look what happens when you go through the ways. It's dangerous. Please don't go. Rand and the group was like, we really must do this, and we must take Loyal with us because he's the only one who can guide us through.
Yeah.
So they get led to the way gates. When they get there, um, the same thing happens that happens when they were at Balthonis's Manor. They open the way gate, and the Black Wind is right on the other side.
Right.
So they believe that the way gates are just going to become impossible to use.
Is this the part where Rand, when that happens, immediately is trying to get them to close it?
Yes, but Baron says, well, there's no way for the Black Winds to actually pass through the gates.
Right.
Like they can hear it, and it sounds creepy as fuck, but they can't actually touch them from the other side.
Right.
All right, so they're like, okay, what are we gonna do now? Huron suggests that he use a portal stone.
Yeah.
So Varen is like, huh, you guys know about this stuff, huh? And Varen says, like, well, the nearest one isn't close. Like, that's pretty far away. But the Ogier that was there that led them to the Waygate, that's from studying Sofu, his name was Alar, um, tells that there is one close by, and they are led to it. So there is an actual a portal stone close to this setting, and Alar go ahead and leads them to this setting, the stone. Um, I think this is probably one of the super important and amazing chapters of the book. I call it the flicker chapter.
Yeah. Yeah. Flicker, flicker, flicker.
There's like this one part of the book where it says like flicker 26 times
Yeah.
repeatedly.
Yeah.
But this is actually a really cool chapter. I
Yeah.
think this chapter very much highlights the writing ability of Robert Jordan. It's just a very interesting, fun, well written chapter. So
Yeah.
they come up to the portal stone. Um, Varian tells him about the symbols on the portal stones and how they mean different places. They talk about how Celine had showed him how to get back. So they go and they start to use this portal stone. And then something weird and amazing happens. Do you remember what happens?
So is this the part where basically Rand and everyone else sort of has like, this is where the flicker flicker comes from. They have like brief glimpses into different possible futures of like many different possible futures.
Well, I wouldn't even call it brief. Because when they explain it, it's actually as if they have lived those entire lives.
Yeah, yeah, actually, yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Yeah.
So what happens is you get to see these glimpses into these alternate realities that play out.
Hmm.
We don't get to see, I think we get to see a little bit of Matt's. Well, we get to, I don't know if we get to see it, but it gets referenced. But Rand is the one that they focus on, and we get to see the many different lives that Rand goes through.
Yeah.
And some of them are pretty interesting. And the thing is that this sequence tells us a lot about what happens if a male channeler tries to live out their life, like what would happen to them. Because we do get descriptions of what happens to Rand. There is one, because I know one of the descriptions of if you're a male channeler, if you don't go mad, your body will rot away.
Yeah. Yeah.
You basically become a zombie. So we do get to see that. There's this part. He's just life he relives where I guess he and Gwen get married, and I forgot what happens, but he joins like a group of people to defend the two rivers. And while he's doing this, like his body's just rotting away.
Right.
Like he's losing fingers. I think one of the descriptions is like, okay, I have two fingers. I can still draw a bow.
Man, do you
So
think that's another instance of foreshadowing with his fingers specifically?
well, I don't think so because it's only his fingers. Because if you think about what happens later, his entire hand gets blasted off.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. I didn't even consider that when I was reading it this time or last time, but just you saying that now made me think of it. I'm not s- I'm not saying I'm convinced. I just thought of that possibility.
Well, the funny thing is, one of Min's visions mentioned an axe chopping his hand off, but that's
Yeah,
not even how it happened.
yeah.
So yeah, it's I just think he does this to describe what would happen if a male channeler were to live out his life.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we get all these different lives that Rand lives. I know he goes off as an elite soldier because they explain that sometimes he lives and never channels and nothing ever happens to him, and then
Yeah.
sometimes he goes mad and just causes havoc. But at the end of every little scene, we get a phrase, and what is that phrase?
I don't remember what it is for this one.
It's a phrase that the Dark One says at the end of every little glimpse of life that happens.
Oh,
Daniel Green, remember? That's your hint.
okay. I win again, Althor. Is that it?
Yeah,
Okay.
almost. I win again, lose Theron.
Oh, right. This is where I was thinking about this. I forgot to ask you about this a few times in the book. Do you think that
Mhm.
a few times when Rand is like hearing voices in his head or sometimes even what seems like his voices, but he's confused about where he got that thought or something like that? Do you think that this is where Luz Theron is starting to come into his mind?
I don't think he starts really going crazy until next book,
Oh yeah, for sure. But I mean like just
but I'm not sure if this is considered that yet.
yeah. Okay.
Um, yeah, I just think it's there to highlight that these are scenarios in which the Dark One wins.
Right.
And we everybody who's going through this portal stone is actually experiencing these multiple, I guess you'd say, alternate realities. They're living
Yeah.
out these lives. And these are actually becoming informative experiences. Now that they live these lives, they kind of know which decisions will bear fruit and which won't.
Yeah, that's true. Hey,
And
I
I
just
think it's subconscious. It's a subconscious thing as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that would make sense. Hey, I was just thinking, do you think that these alternate realities that they sort of experience, do you think that's the same? No, I guess that would be different from the sort of alternate reality that they meet Celine in, right? I think that's probably you think that's probably different from the Black Wind
Um,
or the Dark.
well, well, the it's definitely the dark one is present in all of these, but it's definitely an alternate dimension, very much like when they first meet Celine. I think it's hard to explain because they don't explain these alternate dimensions very well in the book. They're
Yeah,
very vague and mysterious.
yeah,
So we're here to believe that it's kind of like when they went through the accepted test. I
yeah.
think it's kind of like a same and similar thing, except they live out more complete lives in these instances.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're seeing their lives. Like if you think about it, there was also anytime they go into these viewings where they're seeing alternate dimensions or the past, they see these things and they come out and there's like some time lost between the beginning and the end.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, in this case, there's a giant chunk of time lost. One of the main reasons that they have to get to Tomon Head as soon as possible is because Matt is dying. Um,
How much
he would
time
not
how much time was it that passed with this one? Do you remember?
approximately 4 months.
Oh, okay. Right.
We know that it's in the autumn, so they basically completely skip summer.
Right.
So they spend 4 months in Flicker, Flicker, Flicker land.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of time.
Yeah.
And we know that when they do these glimpses into the past, that they do distort time a bit. And typically, when they go into these alternate dimensions, time is condensed. So if it's 4 months, you got to think, man, they must have experienced a lot of alternate lives.
Yeah, for sure.
But this experience comes into play later with Inktar. It becomes a very important experience for Inktar, and we'll get to that later.
Oh, yeah, that plays out a lot at the end of the book, right?
Yeah, for sure. So now we get that. So there were some things that happened in between the whole 4 months of Flicker, Flicker, Flickering. Robert goes back to the girls, so we're going back in time a bit.
Mhm.
So the girls are in the White Tower. They're doing White Tower things. Um, and Leandrin intrudes on them. It's their day off, so I think they get like 2 day offs a year or something crazy like that.
Oh,
Like
I didn't
yeah, it's real crazy. Like
Yeah.
they get rarely get any day off. So Min, Elaine, Nynaeve, and Egwene are all hanging out on their day off. Leandrin storms in and then basically dismisses Min and Elaine. Leandrin has a conversation with Egwene and Nynaeve, telling them that Rand is in dire trouble and she needs their help. She's like extremely vague about what it is, but she does convince them to go along with Leandrin's plan.
Mhm.
Um, Min and Elaine eavesdropped on the conversation, and they're like, "No way, you're leaving us behind. We're coming. We're
Which is
coming
pretty
too."
fucking good for Egwene.
Very good for Egwene.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's some speculation too that if they didn't, they would have been killed by the Black Aja.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, it's like I know it's mentioned later on. So they're told to meet Leandrin at a specific time in the stable, and the girls go out. They go to the stable. They tell the stable hand was not expecting four girls.
Mm-hmm.
Nynaeve flashes her serpent ring and basically tells the stable hand, "Yeah, you better do what we say, you know, on the Aes Sedai," even though she's just an accepted.
Yeah.
And he prepares the horses. Leandrin comes and it's like, "What the hell? Like, why are you? It was only supposed to two of you." And she's like, "Well, I have plans in place that the other two are going to be taken care of." So if you read into that, you know, taken care of, what does that mean?
Yeah.
I think it's an implication that they were going to be killed,
Yeah.
but we don't really know. But anyway, they're told that they're going to need to travel through the ways.
Mm-hmm.
The travel through the ways ends up being pretty uneventful. Um, but the event happens when they emerge from the waves. There is a Shanshan party waiting for them, led by the High Lady Suroth, who is a dark friend.
I didn't remember
So,
that.
what's that?
I said I didn't remember that.
High Lady Suroth?
Yeah, she's one of the characters that I couldn't keep track of even this time.
Yeah, she comes back. She becomes a player later on.
Okay.
So, High Lady Suroth is there with her. I think she comes with 50 soldiers. And Leandrin's like, "Here we go. Here's your girls for your Damane." And then there's kind of a scuffle right away. There's a little battle. Nynaeve actually kills a couple of the soldiers and escapes. Elaine escapes as well. And I think the reason why Elaine was able to escape is because Min stabbed the guard that was holding her.
Oh yeah.
So Nynaeve is as strong as hell, so she just used a bunch of the one power to kill a bunch of people, and she got away.
Yep.
So what ends up happening is both Min and Egwene get captured. Egwene immediately becomes collared, and we get to see what this does. So, can you explain what an Eidon does?
Basically, that's basically someone who basically puts someone into slavery. Like what happens with Egwene is that they basically make her into a slave, and they do that with any woman who can channel in their culture, right?
That's right. So, all women in Shanshan who could channel are immediately turned into Damane, which are, I guess, slaves. So, once a woman is leashed and collared, they can do nothing but obey the person at the other end of the leash.
Yeah.
Um, so, Egwene gets leashed. She gets beaten, like a magical beating, I guess.
Yeah.
She receives a magical beating. Min feels very bad, and Min is used as a bargaining chip for Elaine's training. Or no, I'm sorry, Egwene's training.
Yeah.
Basically, she says, if you want, you know, if you do not behave, we're going to hurt your friend. And Egwene is like, "Okay, I'll do whatever you guys ask. Don't hurt Min." they're about to cut her throat.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think one of the most fucked up things that happens in this universe is the whole demonic slavery thing. It's just
Yeah, I agree.
crazy.
Yeah.
And we kind of get more glimpses into what happens. And I was on away from my notes, so I gotta set them up.
Okay.
All right, so I think I gotta jump a couple more chapters here because I don't want to get too ahead. So let me see what's the name. Flight from the White Tower is them taking the ways. That's the name of the chapter.
Hmm.
Amane. This is the one where they get captured. Okay. So if we talk about Elaine and Nynaeve, they actually find each other, and they vow to find Egwene and Min. So they do plan on traveling to Falma, um, and they got to blend in, so they're gonna go buy some commoners' clothing. Of course, they do not task Elaine with that because she'd just buy like noble women's clothes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So so next up, what do we got next? Next chapter is called Disagreement. So we go back to the boys, Huron, Rand, Aaron, and Matt. And now this is the 4 months have passed. They're out on the Element Plain looking for the Horn of Valir. And they're trying to figure out what to do next because they go up, they get to a village and there's like no villagers there, and they find signs that there's channeling going on
Hmm.
and possibly some type of massacre. Um, Finally, what happens is they try to go to sleep and camp at this town, and Balsamon goes into his dream, into Rand's dream,
Right.
and he threatens Rand with telling him he's going to kill everybody he loves. And in the dream, Rand actually throws pure Sayadine at Balsamon.
Yeah.
And then Balsamon's like, "What the hell are you doing?"
Yeah.
I guess he's also surprised. And basically, Balsamon says, "You don't know what you're doing. You know, come to the dark side, and I can help you control the one power." And
Luke, come to the dark side.
pretty much. And yeah, that dream ends because that is basically that chapter was about them um, getting to that town, a deserted town. So next up, we got a point of view from Nynaeve. So Nynaeve and Elaine have been in Palma for a few weeks. Um, Nynaeve is very much disturbed by seeing Damane on the streets and kind of shudders whenever she sees them. She makes sure to hide the serpent ring because she knows it's very dangerous. And it appears they're getting low on money because Nynaeve has been stealing things. Or not Nynaeve, Elaine has been stealing apples.
Yeah,
And
even though Nynaeve didn't ask her to.
yeah, because she's figuring that they're getting low on money because they've been here for weeks at this point, and they gotta kind of ration their money.
Right.
Finally, but during this time, they're also trying to figure out a way of how to remove these collars. So they've been doing experiments here and there, um, sometimes drawing attention that they don't need.
Yeah.
So the two find the demonic quarters. So they actually find the house, or it's actually some type of, I guess, a compound where they house all the demonic, and they start watching this house, thinking that they might find Egwene. We get a switch to Egwene's point of view, and it's basically one of those training sequences where um, if she doesn't channel the way that I guess they're called Sul'dams. They're the ones who control the demonic. She starts laying out the rules. We get to learn through some internal dialogue how much control the Suldam has over the Damane. Like a Damane can't even think about killing themselves. They can't think about using something as a weapon.
Yeah.
In this case for Egwene, she thought about smashing a pitcher over her master's head. And I think it was like for a week she couldn't even pick up the pitcher without feeling nauseous
Yeah.
or something of that nature. So this IDOM thing has like a complete control over their lives.
It's like the most horrifying type of slavery imaginable.
Yeah. It's like a slavery that removes your own will. It's so crazy. It's like it removes your will. Like you have no
Yeah.
will. You become like a willless vessel
You
eventually.
can't have like the sort of existentialist mindset that people like Viktor Frankl had during the Holocaust that helped him after he survived it.
Hmm. Yeah, and then also we learned that Egwene has like a rare ability that they find in Damane where she can detect ores. So at this time, Egwene learns that she's not going to be staying in Falma for long, and she's going to be shipped off to the mainland.
Yeah.
So this definitely puts a time limit on things that she needs to escape somehow before she gets shipped back.
Yeah.
So the Sul'dam saw that Elaine, or I'm sorry, Egwene had tried the channel, so she severely punishes Egwene and makes her take the name of a pet that she used to own. Um, Min is very distressed at seeing this, and she leaves. She flees the manor, which they're doing they house the demonic. But as she flees, Elaine and Nynaeve see her and they catch up to her. And she tells them that because they talked to Bail Domon and they secured a ship for them
Yep.
to flee
Yep.
previously.
Yeah,
And
that was a smart
they're
decision.
trying, yeah, and they're they let Min know that, okay, we have a plan. We have a plan to escape. At this time, Nynaeve believes she knows how to take the collars off.
Hmm.
Also, Min has a new viewing on Nynaeve and Elaine. For Nynaeve, she sees a man's ring of heavy gold floating above her head.
Right.
And above Elaine's head, a red hot iron and an axe. I'm not even sure what that means.
Yeah, I didn't remember that.
Yeah. Uh, I always try to remember Min's viewings because they typically end up being pretty important.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
All right, so they all three of the women they go to an inn to meet Domon. Domon says that they'll sail in a couple days, and he's afraid of the Mane, so he's really reluctant to take on this task. Nynaeve assures him that she is as powerful or more than a Damane, and there will be two others who will be able to channel that will be able to combat any Damane that might pursue them.
Right.
Um, Now, Domon finally does agree. He says that he'll be ready to sail in an instant within the next few days, and he'll wait. But he tells Nynaeve that um, they saw someone get captured by the Shanshan, and that if he if there's any problems, he'll try to stay as long as he can, but he can't promise anything
Yeah, exactly.
because he's gonna get paid, but then he's not gonna put his entire life on the line.
Yeah.
But he
Yeah.
ends up staying a pretty respectable amount of time, um, which is good. But anyway, we go to next. We get to the point of view of Perrin, um, and he has like Perrin is going through a town, and some white cloaks spot him. The white cloaks think that they saw Perrin. They're not sure, but they believe it's him. Well, Bornhold actually sees him, and he thinks he looks familiar. Bornhold doesn't come to the conclusion that it's Perrin, but he's like, "Who is that guy? That guy looks familiar. What's going on here?" So at this point in time, we do get to see that the children are getting closer to Falma. Well, at least Bornhold's group. Um, and we see that there's kind of like a build up of Shanshan patrols, and we kind of see that there's going to be some confrontation between this group of children and the Shanshan. And it just so happens that they see Aaron in the midst of everything.
Yeah.
So Child Buyer gets very suspicious of this, and this has some major implications later.
And Bayer is
Uh,
he remind me, he's the white cloak.
he's one of the White Cloaks that
Yeah.
initially captured Perrin. He
Right.
was the one that offered Perrin escape, but was likely just going to kill him.
Right, right. Yeah, he's one of the like less fucked up white cloaks.
No, he's one of the most fucked up White Cloaks.
Right, right, right. Yeah, sorry. I got that reversed. Yeah, yeah. He's
It's
the
definitely
the
the
guy.
most least fucked up White Cloak is actually Bornhold.
Yeah.
He's
I confuse him with Bornhold. That's why. That's why. The
Bornhold likes to do everything by the book,
yeah,
and Byers like fuck Perrin. He's a dark friend. We should kill him now.
yeah. He wanted to kill everyone in the first book, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, so we get another point of view of Rand. Um, in this point of view from Rand, they talk about how Perrin just saw some white cloaks. Varen manipulates the group to follow a specific prophecy. The prophecy is five will ride forth.
Right.
So she actually manipulates the group into choosing which five those will be, and it ends up being Rand, Mat, Ingtar, Perrin, and Huron are the five that actually go into Falma. Everybody wants to go, but Varen knows of the prophecy. She doesn't share this with anybody, but she makes a case that only five should go because they don't want to draw a lot of attention, and it's their best chance of retrieving the dagger and the horn.
Right.
So the five will ride forth, and four return is the prophecy. And this is the prophecy that was written in the Fall Dara dungeon. So this means somebody is going to die,
Yes.
and we will see that. All right, chapter 45, almost. We're getting pretty close here. This is a cool chapter, and I think you'd probably like this chapter too.
Mm-hmm.
So this is we do a point of view of Nynaeve. They set a trap as a part to rescue Egwene. So they see a Suldam and Damane in the street. Nynaeve has figured out how to remove the collar, so she removes, using the one power, she removes the Damane's collar. The Damane proceeds to punch the Suldam right straight in the face. And then the Damane runs away. Nynaeve runs in, they grab the Suldam, they gag her, and they put a sack over her head. Luckily, people don't like to pay attention to or like draw the attention of Suldams and Damane, so people on the streets are kind of just like looking away and want to
Hmm.
have nothing to do with them. So this is definitely an advantage for Nynaeve. So they take the Suldam, they take her like over to a barn or something, some type of room, and do a little bit of interrogating, and they tie her up. They exchange the dress. They had some prepared dresses, but the Damanes, who would be the Damane, depended on the size of the woman they captured.
Right.
So, Nynaeve and Elaine were going to be the ones to be the collar and the Suldam and Damane. But Min says that the leash is not supposed to work on anyone that could channel, but they try and put the leash on this Suldam, but it ends up working. Nynaeve is the one controlling the Suldam, and it actually sickens her. And Elaine was supposed to be um, Elaine. She doesn't want Elaine to even touch it because it's just a gross feeling that she gets by using this device. Later, we just get a little brief Domon point of view, and it shows him waiting at the ship. Nothing big, but just letting us know that Domon is doing what he was supposed to do. We go to switch back to Rand. So Rand and all of them are in the city. They're in disguises. They're traipsing about. They enter the city on foot, and they make sure they're fully disguised. So they're wearing like kind of crappy clothes.
Hmm.
Aaron is able to find Padon Fane's trail, and they wander a while, and they find the big house and guards and Damani. So they find the Damani house. They also see that there's a Grom inside. Rand and Huron recognize the beast. Everybody else does not.
Hmm.
So they go past the guards. They climb a garden wall, and they enter a building that is mostly empty of people. They see the Horn of Valir on a stand in a room. Matt grabs the horn and the dagger. Yay, finally they get the stuff.
Hmm.
Um, so Huron's like, oh, how are we gonna get out of here now? They look out the window and there's like some drama going on outside. And he's like, he looks and he sees a Damane. He's like, oh, that looks like a Egwene. Like, we gotta get her out of here. This is when Turok interrupts them with his entourage. He
Yeah.
walks in the room with some servants and some soldiers, and a soldier tries to take the horn from Matt, and Matt cuts the dude with the dagger. Do you remember what happens to the guy?
No, I don't exactly.
I think when they describe it, he kind of swells up and turns black.
Oh, okay.
It's a really creepy and weird death, but he gets any touch from that dagger is basically death. He
Okay.
basically just scratches the guy with it and he dies.
Yeah.
Um, so everybody starts fighting. Um, Rand and Turok face off. Turok makes it known that he is a blade master. And at this time, he believes Rand is one because he has the Heron Mark sword. So Rand is like, okay, I'm actually going to fight a genuine blade master. He is motivated by Egwene. he believes Egwene needs to be rescued, and he's using that as motivation to stay alive. And he does use the void to assist him in this fight. We do get to see that in the beginning, Turok overpowers Rand. Um, and while he was being overpowered, Rand was not using the void. And if we remember, Rand has been avoiding the void because he can see the taint of Sidene in the void.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been just completely avoiding it.
Yeah.
When Rand sees that, okay, he's losing, he has to use the void, the flame in the void method to possibly win. He uses it. He goes through his various sword forms, and at the end, he sees blood on his sword and the High Lord on the floor. After the High Lord dies, his two servants commit suicide. Rand watches in disbelief. Uh, that was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So, Ingtar and the others, they were successful in taking out the other soldiers. Ingtar does say that they really got to go because they're going to be surrounded if they don't get out. Rand is very adamant about wanting to rescue Egwene, but Rand is torn and finally just decides that he must leave with the others. And Matt has his hands on the horn and on the dagger. So Matt has both the items. And Ingtar actually tried to take the horn from Matt.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Matt just held on to it. All right, chapter 46 out. So we go back to the girls. So Nynaeve, they have a plan. What they do is they pretend that the girl that they captured is now Damane. They make her comply because if she were to be seen, this could be devastating to her. And they
Mm-hmm.
explain, well, you're going to be the Damane. If we don't get noticed, great. But if you do, then hey, they're going to think you're now a Damane. But anyway, they get into the Damane stronghold, and they do finally find Egwene. And Nynaeve sneaks in there, finds her. Egwene has an idom on. And at that time, the girls thought they also saw Rand traipsing about. So Nynaeve um, frees Egwene. Egwene puts on like a Soldom uniform or outfit, and before they leave, um, Egwene puts her captor in one of the items and leaves her there. Egwene wants to do so much more to her, but they really don't have time.
Yeah.
They got to get out of there.
Yeah.
Um, and they do talk about how they believe Soldom can actually channel, and this is kind of like a devastating um, epiphany for any Shan-Chan. Um, so now that their captors are now both um, leashed, they because Egwene does actually try to torture one of them, and it's like an irrational moment for Egwene
Yeah.
because she has so much pent up anger. She's been at this point she's been a slave for weeks,
Yeah.
and she totally wants to get revenge. Egwene just has an emotional breakdown and tells everyone she just wanted to make them feel the way that she felt. And at this time, they do decide to escape. Min sees there's nobody on the streets, And a Shanshan patrol starts to walk close to them. Crazily, because Egwene is still emotionally kind of unstable, she attacks the Shanshan patrol with the one power. They were really supposed to sneak out, but
Yeah.
Egwene just kind of goes crazy here, and she's just screaming, and she says that she won't be collared again, and she just starts causing havoc. They get noticed, and they do see that fireballs are starting to fly towards them. So, they get out of the way. Nynaeve gets pissed off because they were supposed to sneak back, but that plan is now out the window. And now she's hoping that Beldomon is still waiting for him. We do get a cut to Beldomon, and he sees like all the commotion. He sees lightning and fire lighting up the sky, and he's like tells one of his crew members wants to leave, and he stops them from cutting the cable. And he's like, we really have to try to wait. He gave them his word, and he's not going to leave until they're there. Next, we get a Jeffrem Bornhall point of view. The children are now just about ready to attack the Shanshan. Um, so before they do that, Bornhold sends Bayer away and he tells Bayer basically, here, you need to tell the Lord Captain Commander what went on here. And I know you want to stay with us, but we do need somebody to report on what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets sent out. Now we go back to Rand. Now they're trying to escape Falma. So there's just a lot of havoc going on in Falma now. It's culminating here. Um, and this is one of my favorite parts of this chapter. But this is where they're escaping. Um, Ingtar is really adamant about saving the horn, and they're really trying to get out from a Shanshan patrol that's pursuing them. Rand is still having feelings that Egwene is in trouble and needs his help, but Ingtar tells Rand that they really got to go, and he says there's a patrol coming on us. I'll hold them off while you escape.
Yeah.
Rand doesn't want him to
That's
do
that
that.
big change from earlier, right?
Yeah, and this is the point in time where Ingtar tells Rand that he was a dark friend, and he explains how a gray man got into the keep and shot an arrow, and he says that he didn't know that's what was going to happen. Um, he didn't know that they were going to try to kill Rand or the Armelin. So Ingtar does talk about his struggle, about his feelings, about how, because throughout this chapter, you got to get a sense from him that he sees that civilization is failing, and that the only thing he can do is just turn himself over to the dark side to protect the borderlands.
Right.
One of the things he does learn through the Flicker experience is that anytime he capitulates to the Dark One, he loses.
Right.
So that kind of turns him, and he feels that okay, the horn is the only salvation we have now. We really need to get that horn. He was going to be a blower. He wanted to blow the horn because I believe one of the prophecies behind the horn is that you cannot seek power; you can only seek protection and salvation. You
Oh, I
cannot
didn't
seek
remember that.
glory. Yeah, you can't blow the horn in order to seek glory. It can only be to protect.
Okay.
And he wanted to blow the horn to protect the borderlands against the shadow.
Okay.
So his experience from the flicker turned him back towards the light. At this time, he knows how important it is for the horn to get back into the hands of those who need it. So he sacrifices himself for Rand. Um, and you hear him yell, his battle cry, Shanoa, which is the name of his house.
Okay.
And we last see him holding off the narrow alleyway while Rand escapes. Um, Ingtar also tells him before they leave is that, whether he's a shepherd or a lord, Rand is a better man than he and will always be. And Rand, even after that admission that the Ingtar was a dark friend, Rand says that he still considers Ingtar a friend. Um, and I thought this was like one of my favorite moments of this book. Just that sacrifice. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's just one of my favorite parts. I was like, oh man, this is a big revelation that he's a dark friend, and now he's putting his life on the line. And that also fulfills the prophecy. 5 ride forth and 4 will come back.
Yeah, exactly.
So he kind of got caught up in that Taviran uh, pattern weaving. So so they escape. One less Ingtar. And this is where we get to see some other things happen. So Ingtar turns to face the Shanshan, and I know one of the phrases he tells Rand is, "Every man has the right to choose when to sheathe the sword,"
Yeah.
and this comes into play a little bit later because he's sacrificing himself for the greater good, and
Hmm.
that's kind of what the sheath the sword means in this
Yeah.
respect. Um, so now they're escaping, and that one part of the Triathlon cycle is fulfilled. So the 5 rode forth, and the 4 have returned.
Yeah.
All right. We only got a couple chapters left. All right. So this next chapter, crazy fucking chapter. A big battle starts to emerge, and they're kind of caught in between two forces. On one side, they have the Shan, and in the other side, they have the White Cloaks. And they're basically trapped between these two armies. And Matt comments that, hey, this horn doesn't say in the prophecies that it can't be used before the last battle. And he
Yep.
blows the horn.
Yep. Which,
Jeffrey Bornhold, yeah, go ahead.
which, as it turns out, was a good idea.
Yeah, it was a very good idea. So Jeffrey hears the horn, um, and they kind of describe it as having this tone, this very clear and magical tone. The Damane devastate the White Cloaks. They get obliterated.
Yeah.
Mournhold has them charge the Shan. We go back to Rand's perspective, and Rand sees the Shan just destroy the White Cloaks. He sees the ships, and he recognizes one as Beldomon's. And then he sees that it's getting foggy, and and then some figures approach him, and they are heroes of the old. So he gets approached by Archer Hotwing, Brigida Silverbow, and a few others. And there's I think they described that there's only about 100 of the heroes.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so Rand has a discussion with Arthur Hawkwing. Arthur Hawkwing asks for the sign, and Rand pulls out the banner. And now that all the thing requirements are met, the heroes will now fight for the dragon.
Do you think that that's one of the main reasons, other than getting people to accept Rand as the Dragon Reborn, that that Moraine packs the dragon banner in with Rand's belongings?
Well, there's a lot of reasons too, because when Arthur Hawkwing addresses Rand, Arthur Hawkwing calls him Lews Therin.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's another clue for Rand, at least, to know that he is the Dragon Reborn.
Yeah.
And Arthur Hawkwing talks to them like they're old buddies too.
Yeah.
So everybody rides in the battle. Perrin, Matt, he's trumpeting the horn. And the heroes of the horn are getting things done.
Yep.
Suddenly, Rand gets separated from the main group, and he sees Balsamon in the mists, and he gets unhorsed by Balsamon. But instead of landing on the ground, he lands in some seemingly weird place that's far above the battle, and he can see that the battle raging on below him.
Yeah, that's what we talked about in the last episode.
Yeah, so I think what happened is Balsamon pushed him into Tel'aran'rhiod or something of that nature.
Oh, okay.
All right, so Rand ends up being. They fight, and he has to be very defensive because it looks like Balsamon just has the upper hand. And Balsamon is fighting with some type of staff.
Right.
Um, he admits that he was behind the kidnapping of Egwene. Um, and he insists that Rand serve him or he is going to die.
Yeah.
Rand is not having a good. He's not having a good fight here.
No.
He's definitely being overpowered by Balsamon.
Yeah.
So what happens? Rand finally feels that in order to succeed in this fight, that he will need to sheathe the sword, as Lan had told him. He takes the sword form, Heron waiting in the rushes. This sword form was one of the first forms he did in the beginning of the book, which was supposed to only be for training and not practical to use in fighting because it leaves you completely open.
Yeah. These characters break so many rules.
Yeah, so he does that in order to goad Balsamon into attacking him.
Yeah.
Balsamon strikes Rand in the side.
Yep.
And
Another allegorical reference.
hmm um,
Or
and he
biblical
tries.
allegory.
Yeah, so once Balsamon strikes him in the side, this secures Balsamon's staff, so he's unable to defend Rand's attack. So Rand attacks by driving the sword into Balsamon's chest,
Yes.
and then he wins the battle.
Yeah.
So that's the side wound that we hear a lot from now on. The wound that
Yeah.
never seems to heal, or it seems to reopen quite a bit.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so next chapter we get a Min point of view. Min is got separated from the girls. She sees the spray sailing away. She doesn't blame Domon for leaving because all hell basically broke loose. Um, and she thought she saw Brigitte and Arthur Hawkwing. She's like, "What the hell?" And so we kind of get another point of view of the heroes of the Horn. She kind of recounts what has happened, and then she actually finds Rand lying against a tree, unconscious. Um, and the hilt of the heron mark was branded in his palm, and his sword is all melted now. This is the sword that his dad gave him. So she drags Rand to an inn into a bed. She sees that he's super cold, and she gets close to him in the covers and tries to warm his body. During this time, a mysterious woman enters through the door. Do you remember who that is?
Is it it's one of the other three girls, right? I don't remember which one.
No, so
No?
during this time, Lanfear comes in
Oh, okay. Okay.
and basically reminds, she comes in and tells men that Rand is hers and to keep watch over him.
Right.
I guess she doesn't see men as a threat for
Yeah.
Rand's affections, even though she clearly is.
Yeah.
Um, but I think Lanfear dismisses her because of her boyish looks. I guess I don't know. So
Maybe. Who knows? Well, and
yeah,
she's maybe because of her like complete lack of noble heritage or anything like that too.
maybe. Alright. So we get another quick point of view of Bayer. He kind of talks about what he saw during the battle, kind of in an internal dialogue. He found Barnhold's dead body and believes that Perrin betrayed them and that Perrin is the reason why they were defeated so handily.
Why does he
Um,
think that Perrin betrayed them again?
because when they were in the village before, they thought they saw him and he ran off. And
Oh,
they thought that he went and told the Shanshan that they were coming. Something like
no, okay.
that. Yeah, so next chapter, we get Rand wakes up a few days later.
Is it 3 days?
Um, yeah, I believe it's 3 days. Um, and Min is sitting next to the bed. And they said that they've been traveling because they've been traveling in like a cart or something. And Min tells Rand that Nynaeve and Elaine and had freed Egwene. So this puts Rand at ease because that's something that he was very much anxious over. Um, Moraine enters the room, which surprises him. And this is another thing that this is interesting. Um, and this is regards to Varen. When Varen appeared to the group, she told them that Moraine had sent her. At this point, Moraine confirms that Varen was not sent by Moraine.
Right.
So if Varen had lied, that means she's a dark friend.
Yeah.
Of
Like half the
course,
fucking
someone
are
who is
dark.
just reading this is not gonna, for the first time, is not gonna pick this up though,
Yeah.
because it's not said explicitly. Oh, Varen must be a dark.
Yeah. Is it even said explicitly that Celine is a dark friend? Is like Celine is really
No,
Lanfear? Yeah, I
no.
didn't think so.
Mm-mm. So now everybody knows about the battle in the sky. There's like like I think he's shown a drawing of the battle in the sky. Um, Moraine
Yeah.
shows that the two seals that were recovered are now broken, and that we have a total of three broken seals from Dark One's prison, at least that are known. Um, so the Shinarans now pledge allegiance to Rand.
Right.
Ingtar is dead, so now the Shinarans are explicitly led by Rand because he was second in command. He lets the Shinarans know that Ingtar died a hero, and he doesn't mention anything about um, his past as a Dark Friend. So they all
Yeah.
mention Mastima calls Rand the Lord Dragon, and Rand finally decides to accept that fate. And this is where we get to see
Yeah.
what I call Rand accepting that he is the dragon. I think that was the last chapter.
Yes. He is accepting his
I think the last
destiny.
chapter is the last chapter is just I think it's a reading of the prophecy of a Koreathon cycle or something, but it's not like a narrative chapter. But yeah,
Right.
I really did. This book didn't. I think I like this better than the first one. I can say that.
Yeah, I
Without
think
question.
I do too. Yeah. I think, yeah, I think I do too, because like it gets so much more complex for world building. They go to more they go to more interesting places. There's more of the game of houses. It
Yeah, I
connects
love
with,
the Game of
you know,
Houses stuff.
competing
I thought that was
loyalties and
super interesting. Yeah, the Game of Houses. I
yeah,
love
yeah,
that.
definitely.
I love the battle at Falma. I like to see that struggle that Egwene went through as a slave. You know, some really intense stuff did happen here. I'm not saying like intense stuff doesn't happen later. There's definitely some really heavy things that happen later on as well. Um, but yeah, this is where it starts to really pick up, and it kind of because it feels like the first book definitely has a lot of Tolkien influence. Would you agree with that? Uh-oh, can you hear me? Uh-oh,
I
I get
got
disconnected.
I got disconnected for a minute.
Okay, so what I was saying is that the first book has a very heavy Tolkien influence, I think.
Yeah, I would say so.
And I feel that the second book really detracts from that. It's kind of starts to set itself apart. Uh-oh, did I lose connection?
Oh, I got disconnected again.
Oh, you did.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
just about to say, um, I'm just on my Wi-Fi. It won't cut out again once I get back to my Ethernet. But
okay.
I was just gonna say this: the Great Hunt isn't really that similar to the Two Towers at all.
No, because I know in the Two Towers there is a chase sequence, but it's different.
Yeah, yeah, totally different.
It's different, and then it's I just think it's not that similar to the Two Towers. It certainly breaks off, and it creates a lot of unanswered questions. It
Yeah,
really
definitely.
drives you towards wanting to learn more about the world. Because the funny thing is, like, the Wheel of Time, they don't have a name for the world, so people just call it Randland most of the time,
Yeah,
or the world of Wheel of Time, because there's no name for the continent that they live on.
yeah,
It's not there's no like a Westeros or anything. It's just Randland.
yeah.
But I think it divulges quite a bit, and I really liked how they dove deep into some of the cultural aspects of the Carrie Ann. We finally get to meet the Ogier,
And
and it's
the
just crazy
and
battle at the end.
the Shan Chen and the Aiel and like Celine and Padan Fane and Ingtar and all those and Tom and all of those interesting characters in their relationships.
Yeah. So one
And like
question I
and
have
like
to ask you is, who's your favorite character from
in
this
this
book?
in this book, um yeah, I don't know. Because there's so many different characters that do so many interesting things in this book. I don't know.
There are like it. If you had to pick, who would you say your favorite is as of now, as of the Great Hunt?
Hmm. I don't know. Maybe I guess maybe if I had to pick one, it might be Celine or one of the other dark friends because I like how manipulative they are.
Like how manipulative Celine is.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's interesting. Well, mine will be the opposite of that, which is Rand, who's like hates the game of houses. He doesn't want to indulge in anyone else's bullshit.
For sure.
But I do have to admit that if I was to pick a second, it would be Ingtar because I really liked his come around back to the redemption. It's like
Yeah.
we learn about his treachery and his redemption in the same paragraph. It's crazy. It's
Yeah.
like a
Yeah,
real
that's pretty
shock.
cool.
And then
Yeah.
if you look at his behavior, because he seems super erratic throughout the book, but it all makes sense in that one revelation.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you weren't really thinking about his erratic behavior and his total quest for going for recovering the horn, like his all out quest for that, like it doesn't make sense until that revelation, and that he's really genuinely trying to save himself and the Borderlands,
Totally. Totally.
and trying to redeem himself at the same time. So, but yeah, those are my picks, man.
Yeah.
No. But yeah, overall, better than Eye of the World. It makes a lot more sense than the Eye of the World. Like the ending of the Eye of the World didn't make a lot of sense the first time I read it.
Yeah.
No, not to me. Like you don't really know what the Eye of the World is in the first book.
Yeah, that's
You don't
true.
know. You don't know its purpose. You don't know what the hell happened when Balzamon and Rand fought each other.
Yeah, no one really knows other than Rand and is it Moraine too? Until
Right,
Rand
yeah.
tells everyone in this book.
Well, Moraine, I need the girls know. The boys do not.
Right, right.
So Moraine, Lan, Nynaeve, and Egwene knew he could channel. He did not tell the boys that he could.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, and then I think it's just better written too. Like the Flicker chapter is just an amazing, well written chapter. Even though he
Yeah.
does say Flicker like 26 times in a row, it's still pretty damn good. It's funny too because I listened to the audiobook and it's like flicker, 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 flicker. I was like, Jesus, how many times did he write it out?
Yeah. Yeah, me too. That's
Like
that's what I
flicker,
was
flicker,
thinking
flicker,
too.
flicker, 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 flicker. Like, okay, this is going on for like 30 seconds. Okay, 30 seconds of flickering. All right. But yeah, there was so much added to the world. Like you got the portal stones, we got the Shan Chan, we got Carrie Annan. So there's like so much expansion that happened in this book.
Yeah, definitely.
Even though one of my favorite settings is only really explored in the first book, which is the Blight.
Oh yeah, that is a really interesting setting.
The Blight you really see the Blight in the first book and the last book. Very charming guidance.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good stuff. I would highly recommend. And
Yeah.
before we wrap it up, let's just quickly go through what we read. I'm not going to do another segment because I'm too lazy to do so.
Okay.
What did you read this week?
Well, you obviously saw that I listened to that audiobook Sphere by Michael Crichton, or I'm not sure how you pronounce his name. It might be Michael Crichton, but yeah, that's a really interesting book. I'd watched the movie when I was a kid, and it was a long time ago, so I didn't remember it that well. But I, as is usually the case, I liked the I liked I liked the book a lot more than the movie, and it ends up being a really interesting science fiction slash kind of psychological thriller, I would say. And I think it has a really different ending from the movie too. Oh, did you get kicked off the chat, Dusty? You'll be back in a minute there. Let me see. Yeah. And well, I can keep talking about my books that I read this week for now. I also, well, weird image there. I also, what else did I read? Oh yeah, I read this book called Nazi Hunters, which is about Nazis that escaped the Holocaust during World War II. And oh, you got kicked off the chat there, hey?
Yeah, I had a phone call kick me out of the chat.
Oh, okay. I think you got kicked out when I was talking about Sphere.
Yeah, that's right when you started talking about it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you obviously saw that I read it. I watched the movie based on the book when I was a kid, so it was a long time ago, and I don't remember that much of the details, but based on what I remember, as is usually the case with me, I liked the book a lot more than the movie, and it ends up being a really interesting science fiction slash psychological thriller story. I think it's pretty interesting.
Did you like the book better or the movie?
I like the book better,
Okay.
but I want to watch the movie again now that I've read the book, especially since it was so long since I've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
I think I do. I think I do remember. Like, I definitely remember at least some parts of the ending of the movie too. And based on what I remember, it seems like the ending in the book is really different. And I think I prefer the ending in the book.
Mm.
Yeah. And I was just,
You said you found the audiobook on YouTube, right?
yeah, it's on YouTube.
Yeah, I gotta check that out then.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
How many hours
Um,
is it?
I think it's just about 12 hours. So it's not too long.
Okay. Is it one YouTube video or did they split it up?
It's just one.
No, that means I
Yeah.
actually have YouTube on.
Yeah.
Oh.
I was just starting to say before you got back into the chat too, I also read Nazi Hunters, which I think it was one I was telling you I was going to read, which is
Mm-hmm.
about Nazis that escaped prosecution after World War II and like different countries where a lot of them fled to, and the differences in the way different countries dealt with them. Like in a lot of different countries, if they found out that you were a Nazi who had escaped to their country, they would deport you back to Germany or whatever your original country was, and let you and have you suffer the legal consequence, whatever legal consequences there are in that country, and then other countries would prosecute you as a war criminal in their
In their
country
own
according
country?
to their laws. Yeah.
Oh,
And
wow.
it's interesting too because it goes into the explicit legal language of what's what's classified as a war crime and what's classified as a crime against humanity or something like that. And they're really similar, but they're also really extremely broad. Like it's something like any crime done to a person if an act of war has not been declared, if it is not required, if it is not required based on the level of hostilities that are happening or something. So, I mean, that sort of thing seems really open to interpretation.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's usually interpreted by the winner of the war.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, because I think if we lost World War II, we would probably get charged with war crimes because of the A-bomb and
Yeah.
bombing Dresden and stuff like that.
Yep, the Allies didn't get charged with any war crimes. That's a good point.
Yeah.
And of course, like no Western countries really get charged with that today. Like, of course, America has taken over lots of countries still and committing war crimes technically, like the last three presidents have.
Yeah, well, yeah, it really depends. That's such a subjective definition for crimes.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think,
Was there? Go
yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, well, what else? Oh yeah, I read Slaughterhouse-Five, and
Oh, yeah, that's
I
right.
told you I didn't remember for sure whether I had read it, and I don't think I had. So it was,
Really?
yeah, yeah. I think I might have mistaken it um, for a different book. Um,
Oh,
but
there's aliens in it.
yeah, I like it. I like how he like the main character Billy Pilgrim is like I like other books by Kurt Vonnegut, and I like his writing style. It's really like simple and also weird and bizarre, and it's like
Mhm.
brutal shit, especially in Slaughterhouse-Five. Brutal shit happens, but it's almost like tongue in cheek when a lot of it happens. And Billy Pilgrim, he's like he's a war veteran who becomes an optometrist, and it seems like he has flashbacks of his war experiences, and I like how it jumps back and forward in time, and especially like you said, when he gets abducted by aliens and that whole science fiction aspect of the story. Yeah, it's a really
Yeah.
interesting book.
But isn't there like a phrase in that book that they repeat over and over again?
Yeah,
That's like,
so it goes.
oh, so it goes. Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
Hmm.
I think one of my favorite characters is that weird, like, cowboy Nazi guy.
Yeah. Yeah, he's interesting.
But yeah, it's a good book. There's actually a movie, so if you could track that down and watch it, good on you.
Oh, I didn't know that. Cool.
Yeah, I remember I had to watch the movie in high school.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, there's definitely a movie. Just letting you know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I bet I'll check that out. Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
I also oh yeah, I'm still just slowly reading that book I told you I was reading last week, Cannibals All, which is
Yeah.
that book written by a guy in the 1850s, which is sort of a socialist argument against the abolition of slavery. It's so
Mhm.
he makes such bizarre points in in that book, but I like following his logic and, like I said, getting into the mind of how someone like that thinks because his conclusions are logical to him.
Mhm.
Anything can seem logical to someone, right? Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's it's an interesting perspective, even though it's obviously a terrible perspective. But
For sure.
yeah, but oh yeah, I think I'm just about finished reading this book by Al Gore called The Assault on Reason.
Mhm.
and I just wanted to see if he was any good at writing or anything like that, and it was kind of interesting. But I don't know. In some ways, especially by today's standards, he seems almost conservative in some places. Like he says things like, history has proven that democracy is the best form of government, and capitalism is superior, and American culture is the best culture, and stuff like that. And he kind of makes the argument that nation building is a good thing for Western countries to do, but George W. Bush's administration is doing it wrong. He doesn't say he doesn't really say that we shouldn't be going around nation building.
Well, because
But
there's
one,
two sides of nation building. There's like the destructive side, and then there's like
yeah,
the helpful side, the side where you're like
yeah,
helping people with infrastructure, or
yeah,
like you can either bomb somebody or you can give them stuff. Yeah.
yeah, that's true. I don't think he makes that kind of distinction, but that is true. Yeah, like if countries went around like actually helping them with infrastructure and humanitarian aid and something like that, that would, excuse
Yeah,
me, make a lot more sense.
that's
But
definitely part of nation building, I
yeah.
think.
And one part of his argument that I like in the book, though, too, is he talks about, and this is like, it's interesting because this is before social media and before YouTube when this book came out. So
Hmm.
he talks about how, it's the desire to solve problems and develop policy through reasonable conversations with people is going away, and it's eroding. And he says something like, it's good that not just anyone can just make a video and post it on the internet for everyone to see. I was thinking, wow, that can happen now. And people can
Yeah.
communicate with each other instantly too. Like,
Yeah.
that was like a prophecy in a way, which reminded me of exactly the sort of predictions that a lot of postmodern writers have made like decades ago.
Hmm. Interesting. They just wanted to see how good of a writer he was.
Yeah,
What
and,
kind of
and if
base
he
he
and
had.
if he had any opinions that made sense, and just what was opinions are. That's why I like to occasionally read books by actual politicians, because I know that half of what they're saying is fake, but I want to at
Hmm.
least see what they say their opinions are.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, let's see, what did I read? I only read two books, I think. I
Okay.
read the Dorito Effect, which actually ends up being like a super foodie book in the end. It's about how we have diluted our food and how the dilution of our food has resulted in a lack of natural flavor, and that everything is increasingly becoming artificially flavored. He notes that if you were to take a chicken from today and an heirloom chicken, and compare them side to side, the heirloom chicken wouldn't be as big, but you only really need to put salt and pepper on it, and it would taste delicious.
Okay.
Um, with modern chicken, you just got to put everything on it for it to taste decent.
Right.
Um,
I think I might have listened to this audiobook before, but I think it was a couple years ago.
yeah, so he kind of talks about the agriculture industry and how higher yields tend to result in a lack of flavor, a lack of nutrients. And he does try to weave the important relationship between flavor and nutrients. Like a lot of times, the the things that we find flavorful that are natural are because of the nutrients within them. Like if you think of a modern tomato, it just tastes watery. That's been diluted of nutrients. So there's definitely that type of relationship between artificial flavoring and
Right.
and nutrients. So
Yeah, if you
it's
have
a pretty good book.
like a fresh tomato from your garden, it'll definitely taste better.
Yeah, and then
Yeah, it does sound interesting. Yeah. Sorry.
other book was North Korea Undercover.
Oh, okay.
Also very interesting. It's
Cool.
about the history of North Korea and like the current craziness. Um, like just the whole cult of personality thing that's going on and how just utterly insane that country is.
Yeah,
It's probably just the creepiest place on earth that I can think of,
probably, man.
outside of living under ISIS. I guess it's remarkably similar, but even then, I think people under ISIS will have more freedom
Yeah,
than
like
people in
it's
North Korea.
yeah, that's like a 100% totalitarian state, and I don't think ISIS has concentration camps, do they?
No, that well, ISIS, they're very rigid in their social and the social, I guess, makeup of following the social norms. Um, but in North Korea, it's just fucking insane. Like the free
Mhm.
market is illegal. Like you're encouraged to rat people out if you do, or if you're found to be treasonous. Up to the third generation in your family is thrown into a gulag. So if
Oh,
you're
wow.
like, yeah, if you escape North Korea, they're gonna take your whole family and throw them in the gulag.
Wow.
Yeah, up to three generations.
Yeah, 3 generations.
So
It's insane.
yeah, it's fucking nuts there, man. But it's
Yeah.
an interesting book. At first, the very first half, I knew a lot of the stuff that they were discussing, but once they got into like the real deep weeds of it, there's like so much stuff I didn't know about.
Oh, okay.
Just like how that whole dynasty got set up. Um,
Yeah, I don't really know
how
much about that part.
yeah, and then fucking Kim Jong Il was like a complete psychopath.
Yeah.
Like this, like he was the type of kid who tortured animals when he was young. So, a complete psychopath. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's an interesting book. I think the guy who wrote this also wrote like a Scientology book
Oh,
expose
okay.
as well. So yeah, those are the two I read this week. But
Who's the author of that one?
shoot, wish I had. Um, who's the freaking author? All I know is it's called North Korea Undercover. I don't remember the author, unfortunately.
Okay.
Don't even remember the author for the Dorito book. Dorito Effect. I have to pull up my Goodreads to see who it was.
Um, John Sweeney?
There you go, John Sweeney.
Okay.
Yeah, he wrote the North Korea book. But yeah, man, really good stuff. That's all I really read, though. All right, I know you got some company coming soon. All right.
No, that actually was postponed now.
Oh, it's postponed. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, because I was trying to make time. But yeah, I actually have to finish this assignment for my wife here.
Okay.
Got to type up some words for
Uh,
her
is the
assignment. But
Dorito Effect by Mark Schatzker?
yes,
Okay, I was just looking it up.
yeah,
Okay.
both good books. And right now I'm reading King of the Murgos, another David Eddings book in the
Oh, is it in
Lemurian.
that same series?
It's in the second quintology,
Okay.
which is called the Malorian. And this
Okay.
series is basically a direct sequel to the Belgariad.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, the King of the Murgos is the second book in that second series.
Okay.
But yeah, and next week I'm not sure what we're gonna do. I think we might do a movie chat. Got to figure out what movie, and if you have any suggestions, let me know.
Well, I've got lots of suggestions.
Well, if you got a movie chat suggestion, let me know, and that will be it for the next week's chat because I wanted to do another movie one.
The Matrix.
Sure,
That's
we'll
like
talk about the Matrix.
one of
All
my
three of them.
We can do one at a time.
Okay, we'll do the first Matrix. The first
Okay.
one is the best one. The other two,
That's
not
like
as
I've
good.
watched that series and the Lord of the Rings series were the first series I got obsessed with. And I've learned so much more about the like the like I think I've told you before, I bought the Blu-rays of the trilogies because they have the commentaries with Ken Wilber and oh shit, I can't believe I'm blanking on the other guy. Oh, Cornel West, who are both philosophers, and in that commentary they go through all of the mythological, philosophical, and political parallels that are throughout that series.
Okay. Maybe I should check that out. So you want to do a Matrix MMA chat,
Yeah,
Matrix movie chat?
yeah, that'd be
Sick.
awesome.
Yeah, I haven't watched the Matrix. It's been a while since I've watched the first movie. I remember watching that in the theaters.
I watch it like every year or two, I would say.
Every
Or
year or two.
yeah, like the whole
Yeah, it's
trilogy
been a
usually.
while.
Yeah. I do that with so
Um,
many movies like Fight Club and The Dark Knight, and I watch Pulp Fiction every year on my birthday and Die Hard every Christmas Eve.
hmm. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, we could do that for sure.
Awesome.
All right. So yeah, I guess we can stop because apparently my socks are here. So
Oh, nice.
hold on a second. The driver's calling me.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I'll start doing my plugs while Dusty's gone there. So, if anyone wants to, they can check out my YouTube channel at Mindgasms, and I do podcasts and videos about ideas. Like I did one on how Trump is a postmodern president, and my last podcast was with Tim Keefe, and we did a philosophy episode. Another one on Deleuze and his thoughts on David Hume. And also, if anyone wants to, they can check out my blog at mindgasms.theblogpress.com, where I write blogs about ideas and publish chapters of my novel and sometimes short stories and poems too. And also, if anyone wants to give me money on Patreon, that would be awesome too. At Mindgasms as well. And I'm also on the social medias, the Facebooky Booha and the Twitter at Andrew Meintzer. And my last name is spelled Meintzer. And in case Dusty comes back, I'll do some of the plugs for Mixed Mental Arts here too. So let me see. There's if people want, people should subscribe to the Mixed Mental Arts YouTube channel, and also there's I think the website is being rebuilt. I have to double check. And what it was mixedmentalarts.online before. I think it probably still is. And then there's also we've got the Facebook group, the Mixed Mental Arts Facebook group, where we talk about a lot of interesting ideas. And there's also a Patreon account for Mixed Mental Arts. So give money to Mixed Mental Arts if you want to. And I think Dusty said last time that there's supposed to be some new episodes up of the Brian Callen show that it's called again now, with Brian Callen and Hunter Montz, of course. And I think one of the ones soon is supposed to be Jonathan Haidt again, so he's always awesome. So not sure if Dusty's gonna come back here, so I'm just gonna leave the call now, and hopefully it doesn't keep running. Anyway, adios everyone. Have a good night.